1972 to 1977. During those years, he closely assisted Srila Prabhupada in his worldwide travels, daily routines, and intimate services, thus gaining a unique insight into Srila Prabhupada's instructions, moods, and dealings. He is the author of Srila Prabhupada's Remembrances, a cherished book in which he shares vivid and heartfelt personal accounts of his time with Srila Prabhupada. Through his lectures and writings, Shuddhakirti Prabhu continues to inspire devotees by presenting Srila Prabhupada's teachings and personality with authenticity and affection. Today, he is serving the global ISKCON community by traveling widely, speaking and sharing his realizations, ensuring that future generations can connect with Srila Prabhupada through his first-hand experiences. And he has accepted our request on this 60th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada Arrival Festival celebrations. We are indebted to him that he is sharing almost 8 days with us and going to share the wonderful memories and his realizations with Srila Prabhupada, so that we can be in that consciousness, in that mood to celebrate the 60th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's arrival in USA. Let's welcome and let's express our heartfelt gratitude to his grace Shuddhakirti Prabhu and his wonderful wife Vishaka Mataji. Please do a big round of applause. Haribo! On behalf of entire ISKCON Boston community, we express our deepest gratitude to you, Prabhu. And also, there are so many devotees online. They are waiting and very eager to hear from you. Hare Krishna. So we are going to have this series of lectures. So you have already been informed online, those who are watching and those also who are here. You should see the flyer which we have made. So he's going to start a series of lectures on Srila Prabhupada. Please take advantage of that. So it's one of the rare opportunities. And this is the only time where we can have such a rare personalities who had shared their lifetime with Srila Prabhupada. Thank you once again for joining here, and I would like to pass it on to His Grace Shuddhakirti Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Always good.
Prabhupada Paramahansa, Paramahansa, Asatara Sisi Mother's Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Prabhupada Paramahansa, Paramahansa, Asatara Sisi Mother's Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi Ki Jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Name Sikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopana Shamakun Radha Kun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Damandam Ki Jai. Vayapurdam Ki Jai. Gangamai Ki Jai. Yamunamai Ki Jai. Vasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, Shri Shri Guru Guru, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachani Nir Visesa Sandhivari Paskyacha Desatarni Panchakopa Tidubhishchakri Pasindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasri Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So very nice to be here. We were just some 48 hours ago. We left Vrindavan. My wife and I, we've been living there. It's been our base for the last 6 years almost. So very happy to be here. Of course, I think we're a little late. I was visiting my godbrother Ambarish Prabhu. We all know him and have heard about him, and very interesting. Ambarish, I really got to know Ambarish and become friends with him right here in this place in Boston 50 years ago. And at that time, it was Srila Prabhupada connected us. As Prabhu mentioned, I was traveled with Srila Prabhupada for 2.5 years towards the end of 1975. And then after that time I remained in Hawaii. And I was managing Govinda's restaurant. Hawaii had the very first Govinda's restaurant. It was in Hawaii. And after I left Srila Prabhupada's personal service, somehow or other I began managing that place. It had already been opened up for a year. I didn't create it or open it up, but then the management changed and I became the manager of that place. So of course, Prabhupada was aware of that. And I had been there for some months, and I wrote Prabhupada a letter. It was the only letter I ever wrote Srila Prabhupada. I wrote him one letter, and it was at that time. And in the letter, after I had been with Srila Prabhupada for a long time, went around the world with him 4 times, cities all over the place, Prabhupada installing deities, Melbourne, Australia, Paris, France, Bhaktivedanta Manor, Vrindavan, Krishna Balaram Mandir. So when you're with Srila Prabhupada, we were just discussing it. I was with Radhanath Maharaj. We were all speaking together, the 3 of us, Ambarish, myself, and Maharaj, and saying how Prabhupada was the most wonderful person. You see the likes of Ambarish Maharaj, Ambarish Prabhu. He said from the moment he met Srila Prabhupada, all he wanted to do was serve him. So this is pure devotee. If you have the good fortune of meeting a pure devotee, somehow or other you become attracted. That's the greatest fortune. Greatest fortune. We're all saying we're all so fortunate to be able to have the association of Srila Prabhupada. And then in 1975, Ambarish was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in Hawaii. He was the only person that day Prabhupada initiated him at the temple there, Panchatattva Temple. the very first Panchatattva in our ISKCON society was there in Hawaii. New Navadvip, Prabhupada named it New Navadvip. So anyway, I got to know Ambarish a little bit then. And then after traveling, and I remained in Hawaii, and I was there for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. But I was struggling. And I was struggling because after being with Prabhupada for such a long time, being with him at a very intimate level and seeing how he dealt with all of us, Prabhupada took care of all of us. He never cared about himself as much as he did everyone else. He never complained. He said, imagine, I was with Prabhupada from the time he was 76 up until almost 80 years old. He would never complain. You never heard him say, oh, my back hurts, my knees hurt, my legs hurt, all these things. The only time I ever knew he didn't feel well, he would call me into his room just before massage and say, make khichdi for lunch today. You all know what khichdi is, huh? Everybody knows khichdi. So he would say, make khichdi for lunch. That meant he didn't feel well, because khichdi is, you know, Ayurvedic. If you don't feel well, they'll make you eat khichdi for a year. Nothing but khichdi, because it's good for all the doses. Huh? Vata, Pitta, what's the last one?
Kapha.
Kapha. It's good for everyone. It's good for everyone all the time, khichdi. So that's what he would say. He'd call me in and say, make khichdi for lunch today, as opposed to making rice, chapatis, dal, sabjis like that, sweets. So that was an indication he didn't feel well. But he didn't call me in and say, oh, my stomach hurts, I have a fever. He never did that. He never did that. But for us, as soon as he would see you, did you get prasadam? If he knew you traveled from US to India, did you take rest? Did you get prasadam? Always concerned about everyone else. That was Prabhupada. That's a devotee. Always thinking how to take care. And for that, of course, developed some attachment, because it was genuine. It wasn't an agenda that he had. He saw everyone a servant of Krishna. Everyone is dear to Krishna. Everyone loved by Krishna. So, after being with him for a long time and seeing how he dealt with his disciples, we weren't his godbrothers, we were his disciples, and he was taking such nice care of us. But when I was at the temple in Hawaii, I didn't see that going on with the management, with the temple president. I saw that it seemed like he was more of a dictator. You all have that experience now, I think, in America, dictatorship. That's what it seemed like, and I couldn't understand it. I thought, this is not how we deal with one another as devotees. It's not how Prabhupada dealt with me. He took care of me. If I was sick, he made sure I had whatever I needed to become healthy. I was with him after I got married. I was his servant again for a year. I had a child was born. He put bangles for my child. He put the very first jewelry he got, ankle bells and bracelets. And then later on, called me into his room in Los Angeles. Nanda Kumar, who was the servant just before me. So he was also in there in Los Angeles. We said, call him, Nanda Kumar. So when God, Prabhupada wants to see you. So we went into the room, we offered obeisances. Prabhupada looked, he said, get my white bag. No, Prabhupada's white bag, that was his briefcase. In his white bag was his passport, his BBT bank book, any Guru Dakshin, he got everything from his desk. It was all his important things. So he said, get my white bag. And he's sitting in his seat, and his desk in front of him, and he opened up his white bag. took out a $50 bill. This was 1975. That's like saying you took out a $500 bill. And he handed it to me. He said, "This is for your son." I had been with Prabhupada now over 2 years. So I knew, you don't say no. If you say no, you're just wasting your time, wasting your guru's time, and you don't understand the principle of being a devotee. You all know Upadeshamrita, nectar of instruction. You share, and there's exchanges of love are there, you give and you receive. And when I was with Prabhupada, I could understand. I used to say no. Oh, Prabhupada would say, "Do this." No, Prabhupada, you want to give me this, want to give me, and I say no. But I learned you don't say no. Actually, that's also offensive. Your spiritual master wants to give you something, you say no, that's an offense. So all you do, whatever he tells you, you do it. So immediately, he said, "Here, this is for your son," and I took it. I said, "Thank you, Srila Prabhupada." So then, he reached in, takes out another $50 bill, and he goes to Nanda Kumar and said, "Here, this is for your son." Of course, Nanda Kumar, being more intelligent, he said, "Prabhupada, I can't take anything from you, you're the spiritual master." Now I'm already feeling like, oh boy, I took it very happily. He said, "I can't take that." Prabhupada said, "It's not for you, it's for your son." You can never defeat Srila Prabhupada in any kind of argument, debate. There's no question who's going to win that. So then, yes, Prabhupada, and he took it. So this is what I saw with Srila Prabhupada, how he dealt with us, how he dealt with his disciples. Not that we were his godbrothers, but in the Hawaii temple, this is how he's dealing with his godbrothers and godsisters. Not as nice as Prabhupada dealt with us, our spiritual master. So I wrote him a letter, and I told him I was experiencing this difficulty, dealing with the temple president. I sent it because he was my spiritual master. He was my father. He was my father in every way. My father died, I was 3 years old. So I never even had a father, that I remember. I never had any male influence in my life until I was with Srila Prabhupada. So I wrote him. And it was in a week or so.
Can I change the mic to the same?
Is that Mike? Yes, it is. So I didn't know what to expect, but then I got a letter back, and it said so. It said, "You're having some difficulty there in Navadvip in Hawaii." He said, "So our Ambarish Prabhu, he wants to open up a restaurant in Boston." He said, "So you're experienced?" He said, "You go to Boston and help Ambarish open up a restaurant." So that was 50 years ago. 50 years ago. So I came to Boston 50 years ago. And the temple had bought the house next door. So myself, my wife, my godbrother, his wife, we moved here. And we lived here for several months with Ambarish Prabhu. So I got to know him very well. Prabhupada was very kind to me. He gave me his association. He gave me Ambarish Prabhu's association. We spent many months together. But then he had an accident. And he broke his leg. And then the whole project just kind of dissolved. And at that time, the temple president I was talking about, he was removed. And the GBC asked Prabhupada if I should become temple president in Hawaii. And Prabhupada sent a letter, he said yes. He said, he said, he's a good boy. He said, he's a good boy with me. He said, and you can trust him. So then I went back to Hawaii and became temple president for some time. But that was all of us. You'll see Prabhupada's disciples. They all just have this attachment, this affection, this love for Srila Prabhupada. Because, as the devotee said, Prabhupada, said, everyone loves you. And Prabhupada said, that's because I love everyone. So you're all here on that same principle. That love coming from Srila Prabhupada. And again, this evening, I mean, for me, it was very wonderful. I've seen Ambarish. I guess it's been a few years since I was with Ambarish. Of course, I knew what happened to him last month. Told him always on my mind. And I was hoping to be able to see him. And then by Krishna's arrangement, of course, he went down to DC in his rehab, rehabilitation, but just something happened and he came back to Boston, and anyway, we're all here together. So today I got to spend some time with him, so I was very happy. Because when I see him, all I think about is him and Prabhupada, myself being with Srila Prabhupada. So anyway, as Prabhu said, I'm here for some days, up until the festival next weekend, and they've arranged the classes here. He told me, Vanamali, Prabhu told me I'm going to be the MC for the festival, so we'll see what that means. They do that in Vrindavan, Prabhupada's appearance day, disappearance day, and we'll see it. It'll be similar to that because I think there's going to be many, many Prabhupada disciples here for this festival. And all of you will be here for sure. And 60th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's arrival. Imagine, Prabhupada 60 years ago placed his lotus feet in this USA. For the first time, pure devotee came to this place, and he changed. It was the beginning of him literally changing the entire world. What Prabhupada did in just a few years. We've been traveling around. Some months ago we went to Australia, England, Europe, France, Hungary, Lithuania, came to USA for a time. All the places Prabhupada went. Wherever he put his lotus feet, it's a tirtha. This is the power of a pure devotee. And it's described in the Shastra. Just his glance, it says, just by seeing the smile, his smile, because they smile, because they're happy, happy servants of Krishna. Just by seeing the smile, it said, it changed your life. One moment. What's a moment described? How long is a moment, you know? It's 1/11 of a second, right? 1/11, it's described in the Shastra. 1/11 of a second association with the pure devotee can change your life. What to speak if you spend your whole lifetime reading his books, chanting Hare Krishna, doing service. So that's the power of the pure devotee. So it all began here after Prabhupada's 35 days traveling across the Atlantic Ocean. We're saying what he went through. You all know what he went through. 2 heart attacks for 10 days. Didn't write anything in his diary. Maharaj was saying this evening how in this place, this is where he wrote his poems. This is where he said, we were talking about Prabhupada, and I was saying, because the idea of being an instrument, being a puppet. We say we all want to be puppets in Prabhupada's hands. And once a devotee said that, Prabhupada, we're all puppets. We're all your puppets. And Prabhupada said, yes, I want you to go like this, but you're going like this. So if you know, you young people don't know what puppets are like, but these puppets, they all had like 4 or 5 strings, and depending on the puppeteer, how he would move his hand, it makes them all move. So this is actually the goal in Krishna consciousness, is to understand everything that's happening by the mercy of the spiritual master. And not while he's here physically in his Vapu form, but it continues to this day. Founder Acharya means everything that goes on in the society is by the mercy of the founder, the pure devotee. So Srila Prabhupada came here with his books. He wrote his poems here, right here in Boston, right at Boston Harbor, before he stepped off. So to be here for this time, very, very special, very wonderful. And it is by Vanamali's arrangement that somehow or other we were able to come to this. I never imagined to be here this year at this time. Every year we would go to Ujjain. Some of you might have even been there. I've seen one devotee lives here now. He was living in Ujjain. So every year, Bhakti True Maharaj would have the festival, because his appearance day, he was born the day September 14th. So every year he would have a big Prabhupada festival for the weekend. Yeah. So we would go there every year. And I told him I would go every year, but this year I told him, well, this year I have to go to Boston. So it's been literally 50 years ago that I was here. So after 50 years, and it was at that time again, Ambarish and I got to meet him. And 50 years later, somehow or other, he is here in Boston. Not under the most, he would say, not under the best circumstances, but for me it was the best circumstance because I got to have his association. Someone very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhu said, so I joined. I was not in Boston, I'm from Philadelphia. Some of you may recognize that kind of an accent. I'm from Philadelphia, and I was going to LaSalle College, and I became disillusioned with everything. Somehow or other, when you hit that age, around 19, I was 19 years old, and I couldn't understand, why am I even going to college? What am I doing? All the questions popped up. What am I doing? Why am I doing it? Who am I? What am I doing here? I was raised proper, I'm Italian American, so I was raised proper Roman Catholic person, went to Catholic school all through my life, even in college. It was a LaSalle College, which was a Catholic university. But of course, we were going through changes, and I had a good friend who I met at the college, and we both wanted to find God. Both wanted. He was very philosophical, very intelligent, and I was not so much like that. He would like to read philosophy. I didn't have a lot of interest in philosophy. I just wanted to know God, and I wanted to be happy. That was my thing. So anyway, together we were doing different things, and then it was in April 22nd. Any of you people know what April 22nd is here in the USA? It's a holiday. And any university students, it's Earth Day. So the very first Earth Day was 1970. That's when the whole green movement started by all the hippie types back then. Not a new thing. This was going on for over 50 years. So it was Earth Day. And there in Philadelphia, it was a Sunday, 1971. And me and my friend, we went to a park, and there was bands, rock bands, local rock bands playing music and everything. So it was a big picnic going on there. And of course, in one area of the park were Hare Krishnas. I had never seen them before. And they were, banging on drums and clanging cymbals and chanting Hare Krishna. And my friend said, let's go see them. I didn't want to go see them because I thought I said they look like they're from Mars. They just landed in a spaceship or something with their shiny bald heads and bright white tilak on. There was no dhotis then, so they had these just a bowl of cloth. The women everyone had the same color thing on. They just made the sari, it made the kurta, it made the dhoti, just this synthetic polyester, yellow polyester cloth it was. So he said, let's go see them. And they had that tilak. That was also bright white. And it wasn't chandan, because there are no gift shops at the temple. There are no temples. There are no temples anywhere, no gift shops. And tilak came from the hardware store. It's called Fuller's Earth. You know what Fuller's Earth is? See, like you have a hole in that wall, you get this white powder, mix it with a little water, and you patch it. That's Fuller's Earth. And that's what they use for tilak. You put it on 4 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night, it looked like you just put it on. Like you put paint on your forehead. It was very good, actually. This stuff, sometimes 2 hours later, it's all gone. You put it on again. But that was very bright white. Anyway, we went down, and I asked one young man, probably been in the temple for a few months. I said, what are you doing? He said, we're chanting the names of God. And I was like, oh, I want to know who God is. And he told me right then, within 5 minutes, I knew everything. He told me his name, his address, his mother's name, his father's name, his friend's name, what he eats, everything he told me about Krishna, this person, Krishna. Krishna book had just come out like a year before. So that's what the devotees had, reading all about Krishna. And the devotees would be chanting every day in the streets, chanting Hare Krishna, distributing Back to Godhead magazines. So we were both, my friend and I were both convinced. It didn't take a lot. And after school in the evening, we would go to the temple, Philadelphia, for Bhagavad Gita class. And we did that for a few days. Then one Swami came by and he saw us, you know, beard, long hair, everyone looked the same, beard and long hair. And he told us about farm project, New Vrindavan. And he said, why don't you come there? 3 days later, well, for him, I don't know, me, I told my mother, I'm leaving home. I left school, left a scholarship, left home, left a motorcycle. We got on the train and went to New Vrindavan. And the next day, shaved off, my curly hair. He shaved his head. So that's what it was like back then. All because of one person, Srila Prabhupada. And that's all people did in the temple. You would hear whatever Prabhupada was doing, wherever he was, you would hear about it. He was always the inspiration for everyone. And it was just after that I moved into the temple, New Vrindavan. Prabhupada went to Russia. Imagine the importance. That's why I say the significance. Wherever Prabhupada is, placed his lotus feet right here in Boston. The place becomes a tirtha. Why is Vrindavan a tirtha? Krishna put his lotus feet there. Why is Kurukshetra, Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra? Why is it a tirtha? So many pure devotees placed their lotus feet there. Krishna placed his lotus feet there. So what Srila Prabhupada did is just unimaginable. Why he traveled around the world 15 times. Prabhupada understood the potency. He understood his own potency. He didn't speak like that. You would never hear him say anything proudly. I did this, I did that. Never said he did it. He's my disciples. My Guru Maharaj sent all of you to assist me. He would speak like that. But he also knew, sometimes he would say things to me. One massage in the evening. My duties as his servant, I cooked for him, his cooker. How many of you know Prabhupada's cooker? Yes, Prabhupada's cooker. Cooker was this device, kind of looked like a bomb. It had 3 levels. So in the bottom of the cooker, you would cook his dal. And there were holes. Then the next level, you would cut up vegetables, put it in. And then the next level also had holes. There was pot, his rice, his basmati rice would be in there. And if there was any more room, you put more vegetables in there. So that was the cooker. So I would prepare his lunch in that cooker. And then, of course, give him massage. And in the evening, around 10 o'clock at night, we would go up into his room, and again, I would give him dry massage. Just massage the legs, the feet, like that. So one evening as I'm giving him massage, he would sometimes tell stories about his childhood. This was something, some of these stories you'll read, if you look in Lilamrita and all, you'll see these stories. There were things he told me. One night he talked for an hour about when he was a little boy. He even told me when he was 6 months old, he said he remembers being in his sister's hands, in her sister's arm, looking up at his older sister. He said, maybe I was 6 months old. See, that's devotee. So then he started talking, because that night he had puffed rice, muri, puffed rice, peanuts, chawns, little asafoetida, the turmeric. And afterwards in his room, he said, my mother, she was first-class cook. He said she would make the puffed rice. She would puff the rice. And he described how she did it, thick wok, sand in it, get it very, very hot, just like making popcorn. But it was puffed rice, certain puffing rice. He said she was first-class cook. He said my sister, we call her Pishima, Auntie, Baba Tarini was her name. He said she was also a first-class cook. He said my mother taught her. Then he said, I'm also a first-class cook. He said, but I learned just by watching. And then he went on and said, he talked about his father. Prabhupada was very, very close to his father. He went everywhere. When he was a young boy, he went everywhere with his father. His father would go out of the house, he would take him everywhere. And he said, one night, he said, I told my mother, I want puris. His mother was more disciplinarian, not the father. Father would, whatever he wanted, he said he would do. Whatever I asked for, my father would give me, he said. He said, so I told my mother I want puris. She said, no, it's too late. She said, I'll make you muri, puffed rice. So I'm imagining he's somewhere around 6, 7 years old. He didn't say an age, but he was a young boy. He said, no, I want puris. His mother said, I'll make you puffed rice. She said, it's too late. Prabhupada said, I want puris. Third time, threes. We know Krishna consciousness, 3 is very important number. Everything's in threes. Kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva. 3 stresses, Prabhupada said. So for the 3rd time he said, I want puris. And then he looked at me. The whole time I'm massaging him. I'm not just sitting there in front of him. I'm doing my service. And from service comes your bliss. No service, no bliss. If you're wondering why am I not happy? What are you doing? So 3rd time he said, I want puris. He said, and my father said, if he wants puris, give him puris. And he looked at me and said, perhaps my father knew. But then he didn't say anything after. So he would just give this little thing. So of course, you could understand, perhaps his father knew this would be the person to take this Hare Krishna mantra all around the world. What Prabhupada did, 15 years. He knew it was his business to do, it was his service to do, to give everyone in the world Hare Krishna mantra, to give everyone Krishna consciousness. Was it Maharaj? Another devotee was in the room who was saying, there was a Russian devotee. He was in the, it was a military, he's a devotee now, but he was in the military, Russian military. And he said at that time, I think that's also when the, what was it called, the Bay of Pigs in Cuba, you know, the Russians and the big missile crisis. Yeah, that was when Kennedy was president. We had the big missile crisis. We thought they were going to be attacked. So this Russian devotee said that he was there at that time. He said, and they were literally ready to start a nuclear war at that time. At that very time. The very time when Srila Prabhupada was arriving here in Boston Harbor back in September 14, 1965. He said that very time that Prabhupada entered this country, everything changed. You see, even to this point, Prabhupada said, 1975, morning walk in Mayapur. It's a famous morning walk. Why is it famous? What did Prabhupada say? You all have to learn your Prabhupada history. He said, soon there'll be a war. World War III, he said. Ooh, there were like 30 devotees on the morning walk, walking in the rice paddies in Mayapur. As soon as they heard that, everyone got very, very excited. Prabhupada said, soon there'll be a war. And he said it'll begin with who?
India and Pakistan.
India and Pakistan. It would start between India and Pakistan, he said, this war. And then he talked. And he said, of course, after the war, he said preaching would be very good. And he said people would be flocking to our farms. He said by the millions. But devotees were interested to hear about this war. We've been getting ready for the war ever since. I don't know if you know devotees. I lived in New York in the 70s, and they were always waiting for Los Angeles to fall into the ocean. People were moving. Devotees were moving to the East Coast because they were afraid LA was going to be a big earthquake and fall into the ocean. Anyway, devotees were all excited and they're asking Prabhupada questions and what will happen and what should we do. And Prabhupada said, not to worry. He said, preaching will be very good. And then what about this and what about that? And Prabhupada looked and he could see everyone getting so much anxiety. Prabhupada said, so, he said, if we look up and we see the bombs coming, he said, we look up and say, here comes Krishna. Devotee literally sees Krishna everywhere. Krishna says, in every atom, outside of every atom, every heart. So this was Prabhupada. Everywhere, Prabhupada was happy with Krishna. And his happiness was to let everyone else know. We've traveled recently. There's devotees, thousands and thousands of devotees everywhere you go. We were in Australia for 1 month. Went to Perth, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane. Everywhere Prabhupada put his lotus feet, there's a center. Hundreds of devotees, thousands of devotees. But it's all to his credit. Just by his placing his lotus feet, purifying the atmosphere. He knew he was doing this. He didn't speak like that. Always humility, huh? But what did he say? We were saying, and then Radhanath Maharaj was saying, because I said about, Prabhupada said we're all like puppets. Yeah? And, oh jeez, I just forgot what I was going to say. And Maharaj was using that same example. How we're just puppets in Prabhupada's hand. This is our business, is literally to just become an instrument, a puppet of Srila Prabhupada's desires. And the more one wants to do that, then the happier you become, because we're connected. So as I said, when I joined, everyone talked about Prabhupada in Russia. It was a very big deal to go behind, called the Iron Curtain. Now we were raised, when I was raised in school in the 50s and the 60s, oh, you knew the communist, evil, demons. That's what we were told. And at any time, the war was going to happen. And what did we do? We would have these practice drills. They would have you go under your desk. Like that was going to save you from the nuclear bomb and going under your desk. But they put that fear inside of you. Prabhupada knew he had to go to Russia because he had to place his lotus feet there. And what did he do in Russia? He met Professor Kotovsky. He was just a philosopher guy. But he met one boy, one young man, and he talked to him for 3 days, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour. And he planted a seed in one person's heart, one young man, and he initiated him. He had no qualification to be initiated after spending 2-3 days with Srila Prabhupada. But Prabhupada initiated him because he knew the potency of the parampara, the potency of the disciplic succession. He knew his potency. And just by giving him initiation and talking to him and planting a seed, that one person, he became part of Srila Prabhupada. Now we have, you can't go to anywhere, any temple, and not find a Russian devotee. Are there any Russian devotees here? Everywhere. I see online, I see in Vietnam, Harinam in Vietnam. They're all Russian devotees doing Harinam in Vietnam. Everywhere. This is the potency of one pure devotee. It can change the entire world. And I finally got to go to Russia 2007 for the first time. I was so eager. I wasn't there with Prabhupada. But I've always had this desire, wherever he went, I wanted to go because I wanted to see what he did just by his presence. It's not like Prabhupada in Russia talked to hundreds of people, thousands of people in a lecture, not even 100 people. One person. But what else did he do? He walked every morning, his morning walk, Red Square. He walked this way, walked that way. And I said to the devotees, I said, you're all here because you had association with Srila Prabhupada previously. I said, maybe he tread on you. Maybe you were a little ant. Maybe you were birds in the trees. Somehow or other, you connected with Srila Prabhupada. And that's my honest opinion. I think everybody that's here, previously, all somehow or other got the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Not by accident. You can come to Krishna consciousness. It's by the mercy of the pure devotee. So we're here this time 60 years later since Prabhupada first set his foot, first person, pure devotee to set his foot in the Western world. And then from here, of course, we know we went to New York. And that's where he established the first temple. You were there a few months ago for Rath Yatra. And when we left New York, we went by the Bowery. It hasn't changed much, the Bowery in New York, but then it was a terrible place, run down, as you know, filled with alcoholics, and druggies, and Prabhupada said he would have to step over them to get into his room. So just to see the greatness of the pure devotee, Krishna arranges things in such a way that the most lowest place you could be is where he established Krishna consciousness. It's where the ISKCON society started. Because this is the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He came to this place, to America, stopped in Boston. But we think that the world has changed because of Srila Prabhupada. Everywhere, there's chanting going on. The chanting of Hare Krishna is going on constantly around the world. There's always a Mangala Arati going on somewhere in the world. Always. Harinam Sankirtan, hopefully, always going on somewhere. So this chanting of Hare Krishna is the one thing that can save all of humanity. And this Russian devotee said, just Prabhupada's entrance stopped the war that was ready to start. And we see this again and again. A few months ago, that little thing going on with Pakistan and India and Kashmir area. Oh, all the devotees have got, what? In Vrindavan, everyone was getting all ready. That's it. It's going to start. We're still waiting for the war to start, and it certainly looks like something will happen one day. But we have to think that what Prabhupada did changed everything. It changed everything in this world by placing devotees, turning Prabhupada, as he would say, hippies into happies. Hippies into happies. This was Prabhupada's business. So, where is Vanamali? Is he here somewhere? No? No. Anyway, I think I also speak tomorrow. I think we have a feast tomorrow, and then I think each morning, for the next few mornings, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I think I'll be doing Srimad Bhagavatam class. I think if anyone can come, please come. And it's already getting a little late. I thought we can start this out this evening. Anyone has any questions, comments? You could ask. Otherwise, we can carry on a little more. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaji.
Hare Krishna.
Very insightful to know about Prabhupada's journey. Wanted to understand how Prabhupada's transcendental relationship with Krishna evolved when he saw everything coming together with the vision he started from India. How did Prabhupada's transcendental relationship with Krishna evolve when he saw everything coming together?
You mean everything coming together in ISKCON?
The association, his Guruji,
His spiritual master?
his spiritual master, asked him to do, and finally he was able to do it. The potency, as you mentioned, if there is potency, he would know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It started at the very beginning. Prabhupada said, he wrote a letter to one of his disciples who was questioning whether Prabhupada, when did he become Krishna conscious? Was it this life? Was other life? What happened? And Prabhupada said there wasn't a moment in his life when he was not remembering Krishna. He credits his father very, very much for, he said, everything that I've taught you in this ISKCON society, he said, I learned from my father. He said, I haven't given you anything new, except for one thing, printing books. That was from his spiritual master, to give Krishna consciousness to the Western world in English language. He said, otherwise, everything my father was doing, he was worshiping the deity. He said he remembers from very early age. Like I said, he would watch his father worship the deity. He said, and he started doing on his own with his little deities originally. He said, but everything he imbibed from his father. He credits his father very much. He said he was a pure devotee of Krishna. He said, and I learned everything from him. And then, of course, we know when he met his spiritual master, he said, immediately he said, you preach this message in the Western world. At that time, Prabhupada was 26 years old, was married and already had a child. And he said, that order, he said he gave, every time he gave me the order, right up into 1936, just before his spiritual master left, he said the same instruction was there. So that instruction, and Prabhupada's life, of course, his Guru Maharaj, he understood. Prabhupada would tell, he would say things, give you little hints if you could understand. And he would say how sometimes his godbrothers, because Prabhupada was a grahasta, mostly his godbrothers were all brahmachari sannyasis, and they were saying, you know, let him come and serve in the temple, he can do this, he can do that, he can help manage. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he said, he'll do in time, in his own time, what he needs to do. You don't have to tell him. So he gave us, he didn't say, he knew he was one going to go to America and do all these things, but he did say, just like he said, perhaps my father knew. So in the same way he said, my spiritual master, he also said, when the time is right, he'll do what he needs to do. So that's how that evolved. He said, I only saw him, he said, less than 10 times. But he mentioned that letter, that last letter he got, he said just before he left, he gave me, and gave the very same instruction. And that instruction became life and soul. The instruction of your spiritual master, that has to become imprinted on your heart. Just like Vambarishi was saying, how Prabhupada gave him his instructions of what to do. And sometimes you wonder, how can that be? But then 30, 40, 50 years go by and you see that it's an eternal instruction. When I became his servant in New Vrindavan, it was literally overnight. I was in the kitchen. I was cooking milk sweets for Radha Vrindavan Chandra for the next Mangalarti. 8 o'clock at night, and Kirtananda Swami came into the room and said, do you want to be Prabhupada's servant? I said, yes. He said, okay, you'll leave with him tomorrow. Tomorrow, literally 12 hours later, I left New Vrindavan. He said, you'll leave with him tomorrow. So 5 o'clock in the morning, he brought me into Prabhupada's quarters, Madhuban farm. Prabhupada had a little farmhouse. He brought me in there 5 o'clock in the morning and introduced me to Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada, this is Shrutakirti, he's going to be your servant. And Prabhupada just looked. The room was dark except for a little desk lamp where he would translate Bhagavatam. And Prabhupada just looked at me and went, He said he's a very good cook, but he doesn't know how to massage. Prabhupada said anyone can massage. It was a big deal. But that wasn't true either. He was just being kind. He was very particular. Everything. Prabhupada was very particular. So then Prabhupada reached under his desk and he grabbed his lota. We all heard about Prabhupada's lota when he was in Russia. It was some months before. This lota became famous. That's another story. But he reached and got his lota, and he got up and started walking out the door, and he said, follow me. So that was my very first instruction. I'm still trying to follow him after over 50 years. But that was the first thing he said to me, follow me. And I followed him. And he went out the door, and then he said, wait here. And I waited. Then he went off further. Then he came back after a few minutes and he handed it to me. And he said, now you wash it with the soil, dirt and water. He said, put it back under my desk. So that was my very first service, was cleaning his lota. So he let me know right away. Just within a few minutes, I learned to follow him. and I'm his personal servant, and I'm cleaning his bathroom lota. I never had to do it again. Every day I was on the morning walk, and there was so many ladies, Matajis, brahmacharinis, cleaning his room, cleaning the bathroom, polishing his lota, polishing his cooker. But that's what he gave me to do at the very beginning. So to me, all these things were very significant. The lota was significant for another reason. That was the lota. But so from the very beginning of his life, Prabhupada was doing his seva to the deities. And then he said, of course, to his Guru Maharaj, then he was given his instruction. And that never changed, he said. And his Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada said how he was speaking at one time, and what happened? He talked to his god brother, he said something to his god brother, and he said, Guru Maharaj chastised me. And he said that chastisement is the most wonderful thing. I found that out. You never forget when you get chastised by your spiritual master. You can forget a lot, but you won't forget it when he chastises you. That you remember. So they become very like flowers in your garland, getting chastised by Srila Prabhupada. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Your customs and our Indian customs are so much different.
So different.
Yes, but how wonderful you people are, how you got adjusted. When you first met Srila Prabhupada, how did you feel it? How was your feeling?
You know, they were very interesting times. I said, and at that age was very different. We were in ecstasy. Everyone, ISKCON was an incredible society with people who worked literally 24 hours a day to try to just please their spiritual master. The atmosphere when Prabhupada was here was literally, it was a surcharged atmosphere. No one slept. I mean, we slept, but everyone was up Mangalarti every day. And we were up, I was with Prabhupada, I was up until sometimes 10, 11 o'clock at night massaging him. And then the next morning I would have to be up to take care of I have to put his datum, you know, in the bathroom. You know datum? Toothbrush. It's a twig. Datum, Prabhupada would say. And sometimes if he knew it wasn't in there, he would just walk by me in the morning and he would just go, datum. He didn't have to say anything else. And I would have to run outside and climb a tree. And get a toothbrush. Because he didn't use those nasty plastic things that you stick in your mouth for 100 years, you know, the same toothbrush, until all the bristles fell off. No, every day, nice, fresh, antiseptic, mango, eucalyptus, and of course neem. Neem was the ideal toothbrush. Neem, antiseptic, antibiotic. So that was what it was like. That was what it was like to be with him. But I remember the first time I saw him was in New York, in a Henry Street Temple, and we drove there from West Virginia, New Vrindavan, to get initiated, me and some of my godbrothers. And of course, all he did was, every day you would hear about Prabhupada from the time he moved into a temple. But then when you saw him, that was a special experience. And I guess everyone had their own certain realizations that they had. Some people would say they would become embarrassed. Prabhupada would see all my lives and all my sinful activities. But what I learned while I was with Prabhupada, that everybody he saw, oh, there's a very nice devotee. Didn't look at someone and think, oh, this is a nasty person, he's done this. No, he saw this is a nice devotee of Krishna. How can I engage him in Krishna's service? What can I do? So that's what you would see. His eyes, which they were always wet, like almost on the verge of tears. That's how his eyes looked. I would say like diamonds, you know. And you would see love of Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. But everyone you gaze at, that one moment would change your life. And his disciples, even if he didn't speak to you, if he just looked at you, that one look could carry you for years, maybe lifetime, your whole lifetime. Could certainly carry you until the next time you would come to that temple, and again he would glance at you. And if he was in this room, every one of you would swear that he looked directly at you. You would experience that. And more than that, he would say things, and everyone's, he's talking just to me. He's saying just what I needed to hear. We hear this all the time. We hear it the same way. You open up the Bhagavad Gita. Right? Everybody does that when you're struggling. And you grab a book, you open it up, and there's the answer to my problem. That's what it was like when Srila Prabhupada was there. When I was with him, I would see devotees when you were here in the States. If he was in Los Angeles, sometimes they would come from wherever. It might come from Detroit, Chicago, New York, Florida. And they would fly in with their problems. They had to see Srila Prabhupada. They would have to see Prabhupada. And then they would come before Prabhupada, offer obeisances in his room. And they'd offer obeisances and sit up, and Prabhupada would look at them and say, "So how are you?" "Very good, Prabhupada. All your problems went away just by seeing him." And you would think, what problems do I have? I don't have any problems. I'm able to serve this person who's given me Krishna. What's the question of problems? There are no problems. They would go away. Of course, when you went back, your problems would be there. And he always had the same response when you had your personal problems. I saw it in letters. People would write letters struggling with this, or struggling in their marriage, or struggling with this, or struggling with that. And Prabhupada always gave him the same response. What did he say you should do? How did you solve your problem? Chant your 16 rounds, follow the regulative principles, read my books, and do some service. That's the only solution he would ever give. All these things we learned very early on when we came. We learned, transferring your load from this shoulder to this shoulder when you try to solve. It's just another problem popping up. You don't solve problems materially. Only way to solve your problems is becoming Krishna conscious. So all those things were there. And all those things you would know just being in his presence. Everything would just fade away. And you think, how fortunate am I? Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for sharing these memories.
Hare
My question was, Prabhuji, in the class, in the beginning you were mentioning that you were managing first Govinda's restaurant in Hawaii, and then Ambarish and yourself are also planning to open here. So I wanted to hear what was Prabhupada's vision for opening these restaurants.
His vision, Prabhupada said different things at different times. He liked all you could eat, all you could eat buffet style. And of course, whatever you take, you have to eat. Not put it in a basket, like some of they do in Vrindavan when they come to Prasadam and they bring little tubs with them and fill it up. And from the very beginning, we know when he went to Butler, PA, and what's her name? Sally Agarwal. After Prabhupada came to New York, he said, open up a restaurant in New York. He said, sell prasadam. Prabhupada knew right away, just have prasadam available. And in those days, he said they should be called either Govinda's or Hare Krishna restaurant. And he said there should be soft music playing, like bhajans and things. He said people should know they're taking Krishna prasadam. So he liked the idea, even like in the university when we do like in Gainesville, We distribute prasadam, but they're always having bhajans. Well, he said it's important that they know they're taking prasadam, they're honoring prasadam. And of course, the secret ingredient, what's that? Ghee. Do any of you know what ghee is? Huh? Ghee. Prabhupada said the secret was ghee. Everything was cooked in ghee. They said in those days, we didn't have any money in the temples. Hardly anything, day to day, but we had ghee. Now there's lots of money in the temple, but no ghee. I'll tell you one little story, Prabhupada. One evening he called me in his room, it's like 8 o'clock. He said, do you know how to make parathas? I said, no, Prabhupada. He said, well, make a chapati dough. He said, I'll come and show you. Let me know when you're ready. I said, yes, Prabhupada. There's a little tiny room in New York or Los Angeles, the servant's room. I had a 2-burner stove on the floor and 2 cinder blocks with a 1x10 piece of wood over it. That was my kitchen counter where I did everything in the room there. So anyway, I got that ready. I called Prabhupada and came in. He said, okay, just like rolling chapati. He said, but instead of flour, he said, put some ghee down on a marble or whatever it would be. He said, then put it down, put ghee on the top. He said, and you roll it like chapati. So I did that. Then he said, put some ghee on it. Then you put it in half. Roll it again. Then you put more ghee. Then you quarter it. You know what a paratha is, right? Now it's like this, like diamond or triangle shape. And you roll it out again. And then what do? Put more ghee on it. Then you have your tava, your cast iron skillet or something. Put some ghee on that. Like a medium heat, and then you put the paratha on there. Then what do? Put ghee on the top. And after about 20-30 seconds, you turn it over. What do? Put more ghee. More ghee. So you do that 3-4 times, and you keep turning a little more ghee. And then you have a paratha, plain paratha. You go to Vrindavan, you have plain paratha, you have gobi paratha, we have aloo paratha, paneer paratha, there's all kinds of parathas. With ghee. With ghee, everything with ghee. So that was the restaurant. The ghee. Of course now things are very, very different. You have to deal with. We had, what was it, Lithuania. We had the festival. I made a preparation. My wife and I went into the kitchen and we made, we call it Prabhupada soup. It was a preparation he taught me how to make while I was with him. It also involved a lot of ghee. And we made that for the devotees. But then there were 2 lines. There was the vegan line, and then there was the non-vegan line. The non-vegan line was there. The regular prasadam line was a lot bigger there and was the way, but we made this preparation with paneer, deep fried paneer. Very, very tasty. So Prabhupada had me make that for him in Bhaktivedanta Manor once. He had me make paneer. You know how to make paneer?
Yeah.
You just put a little lemon, a liter of milk. So you separate it, paneer, you press it. And he told me what to do. He said, and you cut it into cubes, little cubes like that, and you deep fry them in ghee for a long time. Make them nice and brown, medium. You deep fry them, and they become actually pretty firm and stiff. But then you throw them in the whey. The water that's left when you make the cheese, the paneer, that becomes the soup base. So you throw them in there. Then he said, cut up potatoes in cubes, just like the paneer, and you fry it in ghee. And you put that in there. Then you throw in peas. Then you cut up cauliflower and you deep fry it in ghee. You throw that in there. That was everything, right? And then make a chance at the end and you threw that in. So he told me that at the manor. I made it for him the one day. Then the next day he said, make it today for lunch. And the next day he said, make it today for lunch. He did it 10 days in a row. He kept telling me to make it for lunch every day, 10 days in a row. So we made that at festival for 800 devotees in Lithuania. We had a lot of helpers. We just kind of oversaw things. But we made it, so it was a big hit for everyone at that time. But yes. And we know in Australia, of course, Prabhupada showed them a preparation. Prabhupada saw the Australian people as being very, they were very simple, meat eaters. So Prabhupada made basically that very same preparation, and he called it Meat Eater's Delight. But the whole thing was paneer, fried in ghee, that taste. So Prabhupada liked that very much. He would say, we're not vegetarians. We're not non-vegetarians. What did he say we were? Krishnatarians, yes. We eat what Krishna likes. Then we give it to Krishna, then we take the remnants. Then everything is good. Otherwise, he said, everything is contaminated in Kali Yuga. Everything. And we know it's a fact. Everything's contaminated. Yes. Okay. Yes.
Should we continue?
You're the president.
I'm okay. I think you're okay. Okay, please continue.
Yeah, we just, I have to move from here, that's for sure.
Yes. So there'll be darshan right now. So I think, okay. So we can continue the question answers if you want.
Or we can stop here. Like I say, I'll be here tomorrow, right? What time tomorrow?
Okay, yes. So dear devotees, let me tell you the tomorrow's schedule. Tomorrow in the morning, Prabhu is giving a class on Sunday, September 7th. Please be seated, everyone. Please be seated. Everyone, please be seated. Okay. It's 8:30 to 10 a.m. Prabhu is giving a morning Srimad Bhagavatam class.
I don't think tomorrow morning.
And then in the evening, he's also giving the 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. He's giving a Srila Prabhupada memories also. And then okay, fine. So Prabhupada is corrected. Okay, fine. So so let me correct it. So Prabhuji wants to. So we are having a class in the evening, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Srila Prabhupada memories, and then on Monday, then 7:15 to 7:45 a.m. The Srimad Bhagavatam class, and then also of course 8:15 to 9 a.m. is the continuation of that. And then Tuesday again the same Srila Prabhupada memories, and then Wednesday we are having both in the morning and then also in the evening. Please do not miss this, 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. So that's what the session is. So I would like to request everyone to please be seated here. Let's Jai Shri Radha Gopal ki Jai, Shri Ranganath Baldev Subhadra Maharani ki Jai, Shri Gauranitai ki Jai. Let's give a big round of applause to His Grace. What a wonderful memory and what a beautiful start to our wonderful festival and this wonderful memories. Thank you, Shri Prabhu.
And right here, I have Srila Prabhupada's slippers. He wore these 50 years ago as well, another 50-year ago festival. He wore these slippers on a Japan Airlines flight. You know, sometimes you would give you little slippers when you go down. So I managed to keep these. So I'm going to be back there by his Vyasa-san. And if you want, I put Prabhupada lotus feet on your head.
Hare Krishna. So we also have this book, What is This Difficulty? So if anybody wants the book, please, now Prabhuji is here so you can sign. So this is that's a wonderful opportunity, all of you have it. So you can sign. Tomorrow also he is available. So take advantage of this one. So this is a very special shoe of Srila Prabhupada, which is Prabhuji is going to be that. Thank you. So yeah. So he's going to be there at the near Srila Prabhupada and he's going to bless everyone with that. Thank you once again. Hare Krishna. So now let's have a kirtan for 10 minutes. Jaya Radha Gopi Vallabh Radha Gopi Vallabh Radha Jaya Radha Gopi Vallabh Radha Gopi Vallabh Radha Jaya Radha Gopi Vallabh Radha Gopi Vallabh Radha Jaya Radha Gopi Vallabh
Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Please sit down, please sit down. Vishesha